Could I just have a show of hands from the audience? How many of you feel really passionate about what you do? You sure about that? A lot of you are not quite knowing which way to play it, and you are absolutely right. That was indeed a trick question. Everybody now claims to be passionate about what they do, but they clearly haven't looked up passion in the dictionary, because if you do that, what passion actually means is either a strong sexual attraction or the suffering of Jesus Christ on the cross. Now, I know capital markets are very exciting and all that, but really no place for passion. So what I've tried to do in my long career at the FT is tell it like it is. And I'm not passionate about my job. I like my job, and often I like it a lot, and that really is enough. And why I like it is that I've found this niche where I really take the piss out of business. And my subject, I guess, is bullshit. And sometimes, I mean, I've written about other things on the FT. I used to do proper jobs on the Lex column, and I wrote about oil and gas. And I know a bit about markets. I don't know as much as you do, but I do know the defining thing of any market is it goes up and it goes down again. But there's a weird thing about the bullshit market. It only goes up. There's only a bull phase in the bullshit market. Now, I've been writing this column on Mondays in the FT and also in the Irish Times for over 20 years. When I started, I thought I could only keep it going for a year or two. But there's something that companies go on and on generating bullshit, so I never, ever run out of things to write about. Now, in the early days, I didn't know, in the early days, I was really naive, and I kept calling the turn in the bullshit market. I kept saying things had got so absurd that good sense would reassert itself. And there was a time, this was a long time, this was about 12 years ago, and it concerned JP Morgan. Now, I loved taking the piss out of JP Morgan in particular, because I used to work there. And there was a time, I don't know if any of you remember it, but the guy who was head of investment banking sent a message to everyone in investment banking with the immortal words, "Take the time today to call a client and tell them you love them. They won't forget you made the call." So I thought, no, I bet they won't forget. But I thought that was so absurd, so utterly insane coming from an investment banker that I wrote a column saying, the business world the financial world's going to become sensible. And I was so, so wrong. But as well as writing this thing every Monday, the other thing that I love doing, not passionate about, just do really like doing, is I'm the FT's office agony aunt. Now, your sector has got a lot of agony. People who are involved in finance in one way or another write to me all the time. I mean, sometimes they're having sort of, big crises about, fund managers, they're not really beating the average. What is their point? Why do they exist? Those aren't the problems that I really like. There was one. This was sent in by a chap who works at Morgan Stanley. And his problem went something like this. He had on his desk one of those squeezy stress balls, and every time his boss walked past, the boss would put up his hand, he'd throw the ball, and the boss would throw it back again. Only one day, he throws the ball at his boss takes the ball, goes into his office, and just leaves it on his desk. So the problem was this. This guy thought, that's my ball, but was it too petty to go to the boss and ask for it back? So this was the conundrum that I was faced with. Now, I absolutely adored this problem. I first of all loved it because it explains one thing that's very puzzling, which is why are there so few women in investment banking? And the answer to that is that women don't think it's fun throwing squeezy balls around the office. But that was number one. But the other thing it showed is deep down how trivial we all are. I mean, we heard a very untrivial panel there, but I wonder if you were all listening for every single second of that, or whether sometimes, like me, your mind was straying to things more trivial. Now, I tried to answer this problem, and because I'm a journalist and I love freebies, I said it was perfectly simple. He just needed to call up the guys who had supplied the ball, and they'd sent him another one. But I also ask our readers to write in with their answers, and invariably they're better than mine. And there was one guy who worked for a hedge fund who offered his solution to the problem, which was buy a bat. Bat beats ball. So I thought that was really a very, very good answer indeed. Anyway, before coming out to see you, I have been going through looking for really great examples from your industry of language which I do not like. Now, one of the wonderful things about this is it's so easy. You just don't even have to look at all. I just sat there waiting for someone to email me something, and within 20 minutes, this fabulous example had come. This is from Vikram Pandit, who used to run Citibank, but is now starting up a smaller operation with the awful name Origin, which is a bit like orifice and a bit like oxygen. Anyway, it's absolutely horrible. That is the name of his new outfit. And on the press release announcing the whole purpose of this new business was the following line. The financial services industry is going through a significant re-architecture driven by changes in regulation and data-driven business service solutions. I mean, what was going through his head when he wrote that sentence, I wonder? I mean, it's utterly baffling. It's very pompous, it's boring, it's ugly, it's ungrammatical, and what the hell does it mean anyway? I mean, it's something that I have never worked out, and maybe some of you know the answer to it. Doesn't this stuff matter? I mean, would you give a company money that can't write a decent sentence? The answer to that is obviously yes, because so many of the biggest financial service firms commit the most ugly abuses against language. There was another brilliant one a while ago, which was from Goldman Sachs, and they had announced their results, and slightly embarrassingly, $5.1 billion fine for having missold mortgage-backed securities. And Harvey Schwartz said, "We certainly don't control the opportunity set." I thought, right. I mean, at least with that, you could sort of see there was a kind of genius in there somewhere, the euphemism and the general backsliding. But even so, the pomposity and the ugliness were pretty extreme. The point about this language is that you can't satirize it. It's already beyond satire. And this is a problem for me because for about 10 years on the FT, I made my own satirical character. This was before David Brent. This was a more senior figure who spoke jargon all the time, 24/7, pushing the envelope till it fell off the table. Anyway, I used to write a column with his fictional emails, and at first I would take real life and I'd make it more absurd. But then I realized there was no need to do this. I could just take real life. And there was one fantastic time when, I don't know how many of you know Colony Capital or its boss, Tom Barrack, but he wrote an email to his team, which began very unpromisingly with the word gang. He then says that he's on a yacht, and on the yacht with his family, he's come across his daughter's copies of the Twilight books. And he writes, "I don't get it, but I feel it. Taking the agendaless time to absorb a point of view that I'd ignored while loved ones around me relished it was an oasis for my soul." It's hard for us to dream. It is time for all of us to spend more time outside the strict arithmetic cadence of our business. We must really find the moment. Anyway, he's cranking up for the big one, and here it goes. Move your cheese. The Earth is turning on its axis. Planets and moons and suns are in orbit. Gravity is pulling and tugging, and molecules and quarks are warring inside of us. We need movement to live. Anyway, Google it. I'm not making this up. Googling it, you will find it. I thought that was so heavenly. What I did was I just cut it, pasted it into my satirical column, slightly fearing maybe the plagiarism suit that would follow. But instead, something else happened. I got emails from readers saying, your Martin Luke's column used to be hysterical, but now it's not funny anymore because it's so implausible, nobody would believe it. So I thought, right, I'm learning a lesson, I'm going to stop doing this now. So I decided to kill this man. Actually, first of all, I put him in prison for insider trading, but our readers wanted him back. So then I thought I must kill him once and for all. And I did have a lot of fun thinking what was the best way of getting rid of someone like that. So he died in a team-building accident, which seemed absolutely great. I had them all skydiving, and he didn't pull the cord on his parachute, but it was also because he was sending self-promotional tweets as he went down. So that was sadly the end of him. So now our little game. I've got some examples here. Some of them are from the financial sector and some aren't, of really, truly hideous language. And I've got 3 categories for them and 3 or 4 examples in each category. I'm going to read them out, and all I want you to do is to decide which is the most hideous. Now, one of the reasons that people talk such nonsense in business is because the truth is too painful. And this is never truer than when companies are firing people. So we have it started off, we thought downsizing was bad, but oh, those were innocent days. On this splendid shortlist, I have Citibank, which recently got rid of 1,100 people, and it described it as optimizing the customer footprint across geographies. Okay? That is number 1. Number 2 was more personal. It was at Barclays, which until recently was run by Anthony Jenkins. Now, I'm sure you all remember the splendidly named Rich Ritchie, who worked below Jenkins. And when somebody is laughing so emphatically there, I'm sort of wondering if you may have worked there too. But anyway, when he fired Rich Ritchie, he explained it by saying, I wanted to create a clearer line of sight for myself into the business, which I absolutely loved because it implied that this guy was somehow standing in the way. So there was that. Then there was HSBC, which said it was demising 842 relationship managers. Now, this was sheer genius because the point of a euphemism is to make something that's horrible sound less horrible. But this, to fire someone's really horrible, but to demise them makes it sound as if you're killing them. So that was pretty good. And then finally, Ernst & Young, EY as we must now call them, got rid of a lot of its top people and sent a message round saying, we look forward to strengthening our alumni network. I think I know from the laugh which one you prefer, but is anyone going for Citibank? Yeah, it's pretty good. Anyone going for Rich Ritchie? Nope. Anyone going for demising? But come on, EY. Yes. Oh, they really are great. Now, some of you may have spent a lot of time in your professional careers looking at what CEOs say about their business and working out whether those are businesses that you might or might not want to invest in. Now, there seems to be a rule which says the more senior people are, the more bullshit they talk. Now, there's very complicated reasons for that. We don't have time for that at the moment. But I just want to give you 3 examples. These were all from CEOs, and these were all things that they were saying to their investors. So here we go. This is a little while ago. This was, and I also love it because I'm very keen on women, and I like to see that women are leaders in the jargon space as well as men. So the first one is a woman. She is Angela Ahrendts, who now works at Apple, but before then was CEO of Burberry. In the annual report was the following sentence. In the wholesale channel, Burberry exited doors not aligned with brand status and invested in presentation through both enhanced assortments and dedicated customized real estate in key doors. Got it? Okay, this is a company that makes raincoats. So what all these key doors were, I don't have the first idea. Maybe someone in this audience understands that, but I very much doubt it. Okay, that was number one. Number two was awful in a different way. This is John Chambers at Cisco, who said, "We'll wake the world up and move the planet a little closer to the future." The sheer arrogance of that, the hubris, really does take some beating. And finally, we've got a slightly groovier one. This is Rob Stone, who's CEO of the advertising company in the US, Cornerstone. He says, as brands build out a world footprint, they look for the no-holds-barred global POV that's always been part of our wheelhouse. Okay? So there you go. Who is with the key doors of the raincoat maker, Angela Ahrendts? Yep. Who is with Cisco? Yes, you just can't beat that, I think. And who is with Mr. Pretentious at Cornerstone? Yeah, I agree with you. I think that Angela Ahrendts, that was pretty out there. But to say that Cisco is moving the planet closer to the future, A, it doesn't make sense, and B, the arrogance just takes your breath away. But in each of these two examples, you can see what's going on. With the firing people, you're trying, although failing, to make it sound better, and the CEO just wants to sound so pompous, and they've had so many people telling them that they're marvelous, they've completely forgotten that they're meant to be saying sensible things. But in some cases, it's utterly baffling. The thing I don't understand is that common nouns are now all being rebranded by the companies that make them. So in this last category, I just want you to judge. Toyota has renamed a car a sustainable mobility solution. Amazon has renamed a book a reading container. Speedo has rebranded the swimming cap a hair management system. And Nestlé has rebranded a bottle of water a sustainable, portable lifestyle beverage. So, who's with the sustainable mobility solution? Yeah, no, I didn't think that's that impressive. The reading container? Yeah, okay. The hair management system? Yes, it's got to be. Although also brilliant is the sustainable, portable lifetime beverage. Yeah, I mean, God, they were brilliant. So, is it possible not to do this? Is it actually possible to use words that aren't exaggerated sort of passion nonsense, that aren't completely obscure, and that aren't incredibly boring? Well, it is possible. And my all-time favorite example comes from Apple. And it comes from not any old Apple document. It's a legal document. If lawyers, of all people, can use language clearly, and even more than that, amusingly, there is hope for all of us. This is taken from a document that Apple has filed that shows which apps it will and will not sell in its app store. And it says, "We will reject apps for any content that we believe is over the line." What line, you ask? Well, as a Supreme Court justice once said, "I'll know it when I see it, and you'll know it when you cross it." Why that is so fabulous, it's funny, it's clear, and it's just that little bit threatening. It's brilliant. It's what we should all be aiming at. But if that is for people who can't do funny, it's very bad to try. And so I've got another example. This example is even better, and I just want whatever you're going to do, not only for the rest of the day, but for the rest of your lives, I just beg you to listen carefully. This is one guy who is my total hero. His name is Wan Long. He is the biggest producer of pork in the world. He comes from China, and we interviewed him recently at the FT. And, general conversation, in the course of it, he said, "What I do is kill pigs and sell meat." I looked at it and I thought, you are a genius, Wan Long. I absolutely love you. Everything you write in your business, everything that you say, just ask yourself one question. Would Wan Long approve? If Wan Long would not approve, start again. And if he would approve, well, then you're doing really well. Thank you.